So the German towns they were just old, and you know the town I was in had cobblestone streets, um, little stones about that big around, and you look and you just think, okay, well, it's a little flat stone that's about that big around. What it actually is, it's like I guess it's granite or gray. And they're not man-made; they're stones. And what you see on the flat part of the road is a stone about that big around. What you don't realize until you see them dismantle it is it's the shape of a brick. It's a rectangle. It's about this long and it's set on end. And anyway, just real old towns. People lived in. There was nothing unusual. The town I lived in, you walk downtown, and There's a town of about 20,000 people in Bad Hersfeld. And downtown, it was, shops. It'd be a restaurant, it'd be a clothing store, sporting goods store, a camera store, a coffee shop, whatever. The first floor were businesses, and most of these were like 3-story buildings, and the top 2 floors people lived in them. That was very common. That was the oldest part of town down there, and buildings, not all of them, but many of them, they had the dates either painted or pressed into plaster or carved into a granite stone up over the door, or maybe even at the top of the building. They'd have the dates as to when the building was built. Most of these buildings in this little town I was in, the dates were 1300, 1400, 1500, all older than this country. And these people lived in these houses. They lived in houses that were 500 years old. There was tons of them. And then they had other neighborhoods with newer houses and all of that. And it's just very different. Streets were narrow, not very many straight streets. Everything curves around. Because all those streets formed when it was like a little village and people were walking or riding a horse. That was very different. The primary mode of transportation for people getting around the country, Germany's a lot smaller than this country, but it's not a small country. I've driven from like the southern end of Germany to the northern end of Germany, and it's like 10, 12 hours. So people, when they go on a big trip, they take a train. They don't go in the car. They do go in the car, but far more use of trains over there. Far more use. And I rode on trains a lot there. It's just very different and interesting. I like our food better, but they had a few things that I liked over there. Schnitzel is really good, Schnitzel is really good. That's a very traditional German food, and they have a lot of Wursts sausages. Bratwurst would be the most popular one, but they had a crazy variety of Wursts, and a lot of those are good. So, what else?
What lesson did you learn from this time in your life?
It's easier to forget. It's easier to get forgiveness than it is to get permission. I learned that in the Army.
What do you mean?
In the Army, a lot of times everything is very regimented. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They want it done one way, this way, and only this way, and never vary from that way. And sometimes, that's a good thing. To be standardized like that is a good thing, but it can also destroy creativity, destroy flexibility, and sometimes the set pattern way of doing things will not work. Sometimes it will not work for every situation. And I had a sergeant tell me one time, I was like, well, I'm not supposed to do this, but he wants this done and I can't do it this way. And the sergeant said, it's easier to get forgiveness than it is to get permission. Which meant just get it done, and if you get it done, all will be forgiven. trying to get permission to go outside the, the boundaries of what's normal, it's just too hard. You know, you got a chain of command, you gotta ask 12 people to get permission. So, easier to get forgiveness than it is to get permission. I've used that for over 30 years. And it's often really true. What else did I learn? I mean, I don't know. You learn how to be a team. You learn how to be a team member because you're truly a team member. Being in the military has got nothing to do with individuals. It's all about groups working together, just like sports. You know, unless you're in an individual sport like tennis, golf, individual sport, any team sport, basketball, football, soccer, volleyball, any team sport like that, you know, the team functions similarly to the way a military unit functions. Everybody's got to do their part. If everybody does their part when they're supposed to do it, like they're supposed to do it, the team succeeds. Difference in the military is if somebody messes up their part bad enough, then people lose their lives. Versus if it's a volleyball game, you just lose the volleyball game.
What is your opinion of recent world events and the United States military involvement in them?
I touched on that earlier, actually a whole lot. Recent military events, I assume you're talking about, you know, us being in Iraq and fighting ISIS and all of that. And you know, I understand it. I don't fault anyone for going over there and fighting for what they believe in. But I wouldn't be in favor of you going over there. If you're 18, you can make your own decisions, but you're not 18 yet. So, actually, I don't believe you can join the military any earlier than 17. At 17, you'd need my permission. That's the way it used to be. At 17, you would need my permission. At 18, you could make your own decision. But, you know, I don't think it's worth going over there to die for people that don't want you over there. And I don't think you're going to change people's minds at the end of a gun barrel. I don't think you're changing their mind that way. You can kill them. Or force them to do what you want them to do as long as you're standing there. But the minute you leave, they're going to go back to doing what they want to do. You need to change their mind. And a gun's not useful for that. We need them to change their minds. I think the way we are thinking is correct in our pursuing freedom and free will and equal rights and freedom of religion. We don't need their religion to go away. We just need the part where we just need the group of people that think that we just need the group of people that think we need to die if we don't believe what they believe. Because there is a piece of them, the people we're really fighting, they believe that way. Their belief seems to, from what we are told, you know, their belief is, you believe our way or we kill you. Well, they can believe any way they want to believe. I don't care about that. But then when they get to the part where, well, if you don't think like I think, I'm going to kill you, now that I have a problem with. But I don't think you're going to change their mind about that by shooting them. I think it has to be education. I think really a lot of the war I don't think it has anything to do with religion. I think it's about power. It's about who has the power over there. They have people over there that want the power and they are willing to kill anybody and everybody to have it. That's what I think it's about. So. Is that it?